Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs is the sequel to Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but interestingly, it was developed by a different studio. It was created by the Chinese Room and only published by Frictional Games, the developer of the first game. And as you would expect from the creators of Dear Esther, this game has a fantastic story, but the gameplay was a downgrade from the first game. The game takes place in the same general location as the first game, but in a different time period and with different characters. You play as Mandus. You wake up with amnesia for some unexplained reason. Then a voice on the phone tells you that your two sons, who you can't find, are trapped deep within the machine under your meat processing factory. And the voice also tells you to fix the machine because it's been sabotaged. But when you get into the machine, you find hideous monsters known as man-pigs, and they try to kill you. So like I said, the story in this game is great. There's much more detail in the story than in the previous one, but some things go completely unexplained, such as the reason why Mandus can't remember anything, what the machine actually does, who the person on the other side of the phone is, and aspects of the ending which I won't mention because spoilers. It seems like these things were left up to your imagination, but because the game went into so much detail with things, it doesn't give you a whole lot of room with your interpretations. Mechanically, this game is different. In The Dark Descent, you had to collect tinderboxes and oil for your lantern to keep things lit, which added a resource management element to the gameplay. And it was very important to make sure you had light because some areas were easy to get lost in if everything was dark, but in this game you have an electric lantern that can never run out. I suppose it was done that way for the mechanic where your light flickers whenever an enemy is close, which is really creepy, but I feel that it lost something from the first game where you wanted to keep your light on because the dark is scary, but you wanted to keep it off as much as possible because it wastes resources. So it was an intense balance, but in this one you can just keep everything lit up all the time. But my biggest problem with the game is it isn't as scary. I mean, The Dark Descent is hard to beat in that respect, but you would expect the sequel to come close. The beginning of the game is well done with the scares, but about halfway through the man-pigs just stop being scary because you get to see them too much. And after that, all the creepy atmosphere and frightening moments are just thrown aside or at least dumbed down to make room for the story. So the game in most ways doesn't live up to the first game's legacy, and it makes me question why did this game have to be an Amnesia game? It was made by a different studio, and the only real connections it had to the first game are the orb, the location Brennenburg, and the note that mentions that the man-pigs are based on the grunt enemy from the first game. It wouldn't be too hard to change these things and drop Amnesia from the title, and you'd have a totally original game that people wouldn't be comparing to Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And if you don't try to compare it, this game is great. Much better than most horror games. But the way it is, it doesn't live up to the expectations given from the first game. Now, I didn't have enough time to talk about all the things I wanted to say, so over the next few days I'm going to do a 4-part series of videos where I give the game a more in-depth analysis as I play through it. It's a little scatterbrained because it's not scripted, but I go into much more detail about my thoughts on the game's design, and I hope you'll enjoy it.